In this video we will learn how to create complex 3D pattern out of 2D pattern, and we also learn basic principles of edit poly design in 3D Studio Max. What we can see here is the smallest unit of our pattern. If you use F4, the shortcut, then you can also see the polygon lines, and just because it's the smallest part of our pattern, it really makes sense to attach these polygons. So far we have 4 polygons, and if I go into attach, I can just select all the other polygons so that they're all together in one edit poly, and I don't have to switch between polygons if I work on my 3D pattern. With the shortcut STLG and the Z key, you can also go back like in any other computer program. You can also use the little button here on the top left of the menu, and you can just open the list and just go back, for example, many steps. I just go back until my selection. And there's another way of attaching. If you know which kind of objects you want to attach, and if there are many, you can just go next to this field of attach, like attach list, and here's a list, and these are the 3 objects I would like to select. I just use my shift key, I hold my shift key, and I can select all my objects, and that's a much faster way of selecting if you know in your list which kind of objects you want to select. And after I selected this, I'm not really happy with the name of the object. So what I just do, I just name this pattern 1. It could be that my pattern consists of several basic pattern elements, and if I just copy this, and I now hold my shift key and I just copy it to the top, and now I just enter an amount of 5, and I also do this in my X direction. I just hold my shift key and I just move it to the left to this point, and also enter 5. Then they all look the same, and I just was able to do this because I had my snap toggle in 2.5 dimensions on, and right click obviously my vertex point selection, and if I do this, they all look the same. So what you can do, I just undo this right now. I can change the color of the objects. If you look at the color of the objects in my command panel, you can just see that this is that there's a symbol like a black and a white part, and this just means that my object has the color of my layer actually. So what you have to do is I just have to double click on this, and I just have to swap between by layer and click on by layer, and now I can just choose a color. I can also immediately just choose a color and just choose any color here, for example like this green, and if I go on OK, you can just see that it changed to a green color. And if I now hold my shift key again and move this object one further, and this time as a copy, I first move this, name this to pattern 2, pattern 201, and I can now change the color. I can probably just say that this just gets the color a little bit something like a red, and I hold my shift key again and I just move my object, this one. I take this point, hold my shift key and move it to this one. Here I made a mistake, but doesn't matter. I just grab it again, I just grab this point and I move it to this part, and this is the smallest unit I'm interested in. 3 different kind of variations, and I now just give this something like a blue color, and also here I just want to rename it. I call this pattern 301, and with this I have a much better starting point, because if I just take this now, I can just edit. You can just see what I'm doing and just say 5 in this direction, what we did right now, and take them all again and hold my shift key and move this in this direction, and as I say 5 in the other direction. Now I have a pattern. I can always see that this one is pattern 2, this one is pattern 1, and the blue one is pattern 3, and this is something which helps me to work on my 3D pattern. Okay, let's go back and continue actually. So let's concentrate on the first pattern element, that's the green one, and we just switch this on this little lamp isolate selection toggle to look at this properly, and we don't need the other two pattern elements right now. And the first thing we want to learn is that there's something like this modify panel in my command panel, and actually 3D Studio Max works a little bit like Photoshop. It's really good if you just add different kind of modifiers and you don't do everything in one modifier, which you can do. You can work a lot in one modifier, but it's really handy if you just pile up different kind of operations, then you always have the chance to change things afterwards and to combine things in different kind of ways. And this is also a big advantage of 3D Studio Max compared to other 3D modeling programs, that you can already work in a parametric way on a really basic level, because the whole program is already parametric without any additional plugins. In our modifier list we have many modifiers we can choose with different kind of parameters, for example like this bend modifier, and if I just go in my x-axis and I just change the angle, you can already see what it actually does. You can always change them after you did something, but what you want to work on is the main modifier. It's called Edit Poly, and with Edit Poly you have full control of all levels of hierarchy, of the vertex points, of the edges, and at the end of the day also on the polygons. I just press P like perspective, and I just turn a little bit and choose next one of the polygons, and you can just see that I can, for example, under my edit poly, and this is all related to my polygons, for example extrude this, and I extrude my my polygon. You can already see what's happening, and if I left my edit poly and I just add another edit poly on it, and probably just do something different, for example just extrude this one also in the opposite direction like this. You have the possibility to just close all my elements and just, for example, switch off the other parameters like this. So there are the little lights, and you can also just choose one and just put this into my bin and remove the modifier from the modifier stack. What I can't do is I can't just get into my parameters again and probably just change this extrusion which I did before. And there's one thing which is sometimes really handy to use. I just delete this again and I just add an edit poly again on top. And what I can do is I can just record actually what I did. So there is always the option to record one change of transformation of parameters. And for example, if I go again into my edit poly and I go into my hierarchy of polygon and for example choose my hexagon into in my polygon shape, then I can do the following. I just go again into extrude, and I hardly never use these buttons like these extrude buttons. I always use my little setting window next to this, because then I really can control the parameters. And if I just extrude this right now, for example in this negative direction, and just close this, I always have the options to go back into my settings. So when I just go and model something in my model mode, I don't have the option to come back and change the parameters. And if you switch to animate, you can just go into your settings and you can always change them. on all levels. The only important thing is you have to close it with my OK button. If you just close it with cancel, then your whole setting is gone. So always use OK, and then you can always come back to your settings. If you pile up many parameters and many modifiers, you sometimes get confused actually what's going on. So what you can do is you can just go with your mouse over Edit Poly, right mouse click and go into Rename. And what I do, I just call it Edit Poly. And I just think about that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 polygons in my element. And so I just say Edit Poly 1 for my first element and just name it next step like Extrude. And when I did it, I can just close it, and then I always know what I did in this modifier, and I can just add another modifier like this, and just go into my Edit Poly and just, for example, just choose this polygon. Okay, let's try another Edit Poly function. We just put another Edit Poly modifier on top. And here again, I just use my animate. Just remember, if you don't use animate, then you can't go back and just change the parameters. So I just open my hierarchy and I go into my polygon level. I choose this time my polygon number 2. I just name it number 2 at the end of the day. And I try something else. I just go into this feature bevel, also again into my settings, and this is quite similar to Edit Poly extrude, so I can just extrude this and probably just say it's 0.5, and I change my second parameter 0.5, something went wrong, 0.5 again. And I just changed my second parameter, and we can just see what this does. It just scales my extruded surface, and I probably just go here and just enter minus 0.5 and I close it again with OK. Also here we just go and rename it. I go into the modifier and just say right mouse click on Edit Poly, and I go into rename and I call it Edit Poly EP line 2, because this is for me now the polygon number 2, and I just name it bevel and just say enter. Next step, I can actually close it. You can now again select all my my modifier and my modifier stack. I just probably choose now my Edit Poly 1 extrude, and just gives you a warning that you should not change the basic topology, because some of the modifiers rely on specific polygons, which is actually in this time really fine, and nothing will actually happen. And there's one little button which is probably good to know. It's show end result toggle on and off. If this is completely like a straight full line, then you can see everything, all the functions, also the functions on top, and if you just switch this off, then you see only everything until this point and not the function on top. So I have my show end result toggle off, and if I now go again into my Edit Poly 1, which is actually this one, and I just go into polygon, you can see what happens if I just choose another polygon. It just swaps to the polygon I selected. So what quite often just happens with you, and you really have to be aware of and probably understand this, otherwise it drives you nuts. You really have to be aware of that these Edit Polys rely on whatever kind of selection you did here. It could be even that you hold the Shift key and I just select several of them. And you can also just say then show end result toggle on, and you see that here this bevel comes on top. So just be aware of that this has a lot of power. that it always relies to the selection. You can change this, but this can also confuse you if you just change the selections here just by mistake. Okay, let's speed up a little bit. For the other polygons, I would like to have similar transformation like the other ones. So what I obviously can do is I can just add other edit poly for this one and for the other one. Use possibly again animate to make it to be able to change the parameters at the end of the day. What I can also do actually, I can just click on my modifier, right mouse click, I can just say copy. And then at the end of the day, I can just click on this and then just say next step, paste. So if I just paste it, all the parameters are selected. The only thing I have to do is I just have to go into my polygon again. And instead of the top one, I just choose this one. And this means I just changed it, and I just chose another polygon, and I just copy paste the same parameters. So I just call it edit poly, and then number 3, and again my word bevel, so that I remember the whole thing. And again go on right mouse click and again say paste, and I just go into my hierarchy. I choose polygon and I just choose this polygon here, and again I go into right mouse click on my edit poly and rename it to EP number 4 and name it bevel. And then it already looks quite good. I close this, so I have a hierarchy of 1, 2, 3, 4 polygons related to 1, 2, 3 or 4 polygons, which I just choose as a name. And what I can do is I can just go again now into the parameters, because I used my animate mode, and I can go into my settings and, for example, change this one like this, and I go into my bevel number 3, and here I just extrude it into the minus direction. I just click on the other one so it works actually, and go and just press OK. And if I just select my edit poly number 4, which I do right now, I just go into my settings here and I just change it to plus again, somewhere like this, and I just use my enter key, and now I just have it a little bit like the first one, and I go and just press OK, and so I have a little bit of a variation of my basic pattern element. There's one thing I still would like to do. I just would like to delete this polygon and this element, and what I can do is I can just choose again an edit poly, and then just select the polygon, for example like this one, and press my delete button like this, and then I can rename it edit poly delete, and then I probably should also give it a name, and this was polygon number 3 I actually deleted. What you also can do is I just close this and switch this off again. You can just choose something like delete mesh, which more or less does the same, and you can see that it just deletes the selection underneath, and the selection underneath is edit poly number 4. And if I change the hierarchy, you can just see with drag and drop that it just goes to number 3, because it always relates to the selection underneath. So if I have this modifier delete mesh, and the selection underneath in this modifier is this polygon, I can just choose this. This is a polygon I actually selected. Then you see that these two things are strongly related, and that's another way of doing this. Just select it, and you can just see what's happening. So I just close my modifiers. The top one I don't need anymore. I just put this into the bin. Okay, and let's have a look at my other two pattern elements. Just go in my isolate selection toggle, and we just see that here are two more elements. Before I can work on the other elements, I have to deselect everything here, or I have to leave the hierarchy of my element. So I just select again my edit poly number 4, and here we go. And then with this I have deselected all my settings, and now I can choose my second pattern. And we do very few things here quickly to show you some variations of what you can do. I just enter a new edit poly. We already know that it's quite handy to use the animate mode. I choose my first polygon. I open my hierarchy, edit poly, and there's something like this inset. I go into my settings, and you can make an insert if you choose this, for example, like an insert with this polygon. Okay, and I just close this and just press OK, and the next thing I go again and just rename it like edit poly number 1. I gave it the name, and I just say the whole thing is inset. I can now just put another edit poly on top, and now again in animate I can just go in my hierarchy and just choose again this polygon, and for example I can just choose extrude and just extrude this, and I can also just say at the end of the day I just want to delete this, and now I deleted this with my extrusion. But just be aware of, because there are two transformation inside, I can't go back to my extrusion anymore. So what I can do is I just have my extrusion, I can switch it on and off, but just because I have two functions in one modifier, I can't just go back, and in this animate there's now the last function stored, which is actually my delete, but we leave it like this. So I just rename it. I just go into rename, I just call it edit poly first polygon, and I rename it extrude and delete. Okay, one other function in edit poly we would like to look at, which is really handy. I put another edit poly on top. I just go into animate, and I just select this polygon, which I already have in my head as polygon number 2. And there's something nice like this hinge from edge. We remember edge is one of these lines. We have 4 edges with this polygon. I can just switch on hinge from edge, and the first thing I have to do, I have to pick a hinge. So I just activate this, and I, for example, choose this edge, and then I can change the angle. You can just see that it goes up and down around this edge, and I can just put an angle inside, for example like number 10, and close it, and this is what actually happened. If I go inside again, inside in my hierarchy, and go into my settings, and I go again onto choose and deactivate it, I can just choose a different edge, for example like this one, and I turn it to 1 so we can see it a little bit better. So you can see that it just changes starting from this edge 10 degrees, it just moves the second surface. So there are a lot of options. I deselect it again, and I just select this surface, this edge, and you can just see that you can actually play with this quite well. Okay, let's rename it edit poly EP2, and we call it hinge. And let's just look at the other 2 missing polygons. What I do again, I just select my last edit poly, and I just copy it again, and go again and just say next step paste. And here we can see that it's just worked properly. I just rename it and call it edit poly number 3, again hinge. And now again I have to go into the hierarchy, and it's just selected because it just looks like this because it's on top of the other polygon. Just go into polygon and I just select this one, and you can just see that it already swapped to the other one. I just go again into paste and open this one, and here again I go into edit poly and just choose the third polygon. And here we can see that this is a really nice way of copying. I call this edit poly number 4 and hinge. Really fine. And so the only thing what I still have to do is just have to choose the angle that at the end of the day it looks good. So with the first polygon I go into the settings. These are the settings, and we can see that we can change the angle and can go in both directions, and I'm not really sure of this edge. So what I go is I just go into edge and just select this one, and this already looks better, and I just lift it a little bit. Okay, that's fine. So I go into my next polygon, which was this one. I again go into my settings and I just select this angle again, and this is actually what I would like to have. I think this already looks quite good. I can change the parameters of my hinge, probably just say that this is slightly higher, for example like 20, and I just press my enter button, and like this. I think it's a little bit too much, but I think we leave it like this, and I close it. And I also close all my modifiers. And the only thing I think that I'm not really happy with the middle part anymore. I think this is a little bit too much. So what I can just do, I can just switch off my insert like this one, and this is what it looks like. If I just have my delete, I can also also switch off delete, and then we see what this looks like actually. So there are a lot of things already happening because it changed the topology, because now we have more polygons again inside. So if I want to switch also this modifier, I have to go in all my hinges again and choose this, this, and this with number 2, 3, and 4. But I think I'm absolutely fine with this solution. So what I do now, I just go again into my isolate selection toggle, and I can already see that I have two different kind of variations here in my with my patterns. And just because we already spent a lot of time on my two variations, I do one thing. I just okay, it was a mistake. I just go into string Z, and that's the same thing like before. You have to switch off my selection like this. It has to be deselected, and also my my object has to be deselected. So I have to get out of this hierarchy actually, and then I just choose my blue pattern like this. I go into my top view. I just press the T, keyboard T like top view, or I just go into perspective and I just choose top view. Okay, and what I do then, I just take my pattern, and I have my snap toggle on, and right mouse click also my vertex, and I just choose this corner. I hold this corner and I move it to oh, I made a mistake again. I'll just move it here and just take this corner and just attach it here. I change the color to blue like this one, so there's a little bit of a variation. And what I can do right now, I just already know what kind of effects these one do, and just because I use the animate, I can just change something. I can just extrude this one to a -5, press enter, this looks good, and I press my OK key, and okay, now we also just turn the extrusion with this one, and I just go through my hierarchy, and we just see it's not number 3, it is actually number 2, and so I just select number 2. And here I go again into my settings and my extrusion. That's this part. We just enter a minus. Just go my enter key like this, and we just say next step OK. So the only variation I still think about that I probably change my delete and just see what looks good if I just put it up. This is not a good idea because it just goes through the whole object. Probably there's no selection underneath. If you just see, I just put it to this one, and I think this is a nice variation for my pattern. So finally, we would like to see these 3 pattern elements as a really big pattern with a lot of elements. And before I just copy them, by the way, as an instance, I just check again the names of my patterns. This is pattern number 101. I just copy the name. And this one should be pattern number 2. And we just see that something happened through all our copy paste. So we just rename it again. Sorry, again, I just go into my edit poly, and I just copy my pattern number 2. And if this is pattern number 2, I change the name to pattern number 2. Okay, press enter. I check this one, and this is again a copy of this one. So what we need to do is I also just overwrite this as pattern number 3. Okay, this is quite handy to have a better overview. So what I do is I just select all of them, and I grab this point with my snap toggle on and vertex selected, obviously. I hold my shift key and I just move this to the right. By the way, I can also move it from this point to the top. Is probably a little bit more symmetrical, and this time I don't use copy, I just use an instance, because what I want to do, I don't want to change my pattern and they should all actually follow. So I just go into a number of 5 copies, could be any number, could be also 10, isn't a big deal. So what I did is I just copied 10 of them, and then I just take them again, and I hold again my my shift key, so let's look at the pattern we just created. What I just do, I just select all 3 objects, I go into my top mode, and I want to copy them, and I just want to copy them as instances, because actually if I want to change something with them, I want that my whole pattern will change, and I just hold my shift key like this, and I just copy it to this position, and this time I just use instance, because what I would like to do, I would like to change my pattern, be able to change my pattern afterwards, and that all the other elements of the pattern just follow. I just enter a number, for example like 5. Here we go, and then I just take them again, and I just hold my shift key and take this corner, and I really have to choose the outer corner, that's really important, otherwise it doesn't fit. Take this and move it to this position, and again I just enter as instant number 5 of copies, 5 copies, and what we can do, this already looks, I think looks really good. What you can do is I just change it to perspective or to orthographic view. I just change it, turn it like this. I can just select any of these objects, for example like this, And if I go into my settings for my fourth hinge, we can just see that I can change the angle, and all the other elements just follow, and so the whole model is still completely parametric in a really nice way. I go one step back again to my clone and want to show you one more thing. I just go back and to select, and so these are my three elements, and just go into top view again. I can see it much better like this. Shortcut T, just hold it, and again I hold my shift key and I just move this to this point, and instead of copy or instant, I just use a reference, and we can just see what this does actually. I just go and enter the number 5. Okay, here we go, and I just choose all of them and choose the outer corner like this, and hold my shift key again, and as a reference I go into number 5, and here we go. And if I choose one of the elements in the middle and I just turn it again, it's like this. I go again into my hinge number 4, and I can change the radius, and this is expected, but you can see that there's a little bit of a line on top. So what I can do, I can just put an edit poly on top, for example like this one, and I can move it over the top line, like over this one. And if I now go into this edit poly, for example like this, I can do other things. I can just delete it, and it is just related to this element just because I used it as a reference, and you can see everything underneath is connected to all the elements, and everything over this line is related to only the element I just added, or object I added, my edit poly. So if I rename this to edit poly delete, and for example I have the idea and just move it under this line, you can just see what's happening. Then I just copy it to all the other objects which are actually a part of my copy, a little bit like an instance. So I can just play with this line. Finally, if I just go again into my select by name, this is also, by the way, the H key. Then you can just see, just go into select by name, that we have a clear order of all my elements of pattern number 2 and pattern number 1 and pattern number 3. And I can, for example, just select all pattern number 1, like this, hold my shift key, and these are now all the elements of pattern number 1, all the green ones. And just to see the final result and to see what my pattern looks like if it has the same color, just do one thing. I just go into my material editor, and I just take one of these materials, and I use my material editor in my compact material mode. Just open it again, and I just say assign material to selection, and now we can already see what it looks like with a more homogeneous appearance. If I change to shaded and realistic, we can also see it a little bit with some shadows. And if I just deselect my my objects, we can just see if I use edge faces and on, then we can still differentiate our pattern element number 1, number 2 and number 3, and I have a first impression of what my pattern looks like if it's more like a homogeneous surface. Thanks for watching.